Cool. Nice to see you, Marietta.
Hi, Matej.
Hope you have a nice Thursday.
Yeah, it's quite nice. Sunny outside, wonderful weather here in Slovenia.
Perfect. Yes, also nice weather here in Phuket, as I'm changing into English from Slovenian language now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit different, but still, I think we're gonna make it just fine.
Of course. Yes. And like today's topic is about human mind and like different approaches towards the change.
Okay.
Right? I'm sure that is something that you're very passionate about.
Well, I'm not sure. Let's see what you're gonna ask me, and then let's see where it goes.
Let's dive. Yes, let's dive. Like, we are both coaches, and like we are both like working with people towards the change. And like, what attracted me when I saw your profile was actually like the combination of TA, which is transactional analysis, and coaching, right? And because it's like bigger than just one sharp niche, right? And I guess since it's bigger than one sharp niche, maybe the results are bigger. So I'm just curious if you can share with us here, like maybe a few sentences about who Marietta is and how you apply your work.
Okay. Well, Marietta is a coach, first of all, and a transactional analysis counselor. I studied transactional analysis for 4 years and got my diploma, and then I called it quits. I didn't go to the route of becoming a psychotherapist because in the meantime, I got to know coaching and wanted to go on that path. But otherwise, I would say in my lifetime, in my adult work life, I've always been a consultant in different fields, perhaps. Originally, I'm an andragogy, so education of adults. And then I got my PhD in pedagogy, so education of children. So worked in those fields, and then got into social work because I wanted to help people. But in reality, I needed to, help myself in certain areas. But when working in social work, I kind of realized I needed a little bit more deeper knowledge about the human mind. And that's why I went in and studied transactional analysis. And working with individuals was very, very interesting. But later on, I kind of felt this still wasn't right for me. So I was kind of searching for myself and kind of find my way in coaching. And when, gotten to know a little bit about coaching techniques and what coaching is, and started coaching, had some education in that field, I kind of realized I can use some of the transactional analysis methods in my coaching processes. Of course, always have to be careful to divide those two, not to mix them up together. So when working with individuals, definitely have to explain, I'm going to use some transactional analysis techniques is that, or method is there already with you, and then maybe explain that to them. But otherwise, I find it very, very helpful when diagnosing some things, using those tools, explaining also some of the methods to my clients. So I think I love that. Love that combination.
Yes. Great stuff. And like, just for listeners to understand a bit more, how would you describe then like TA?
Well, it's definitely a psychotherapy approach. It's very versatile. It's been used in a lot of different fields. From the founder Eric Berne in the 60s. It's developed. A lot of other authors have, deepened his work, found new theories and so forth. And sometimes it can be a little bit, oversimplified in some cases. I read some like sales books where it was really, really simplified, transactional analysis. So you have to be careful when, when learning about it. What is okay? What is the real theory? Is that something that is backed up by different people who know what they're talking about and so forth? But for me, I think it's mostly, I love it because it's about, how do I say it? Accountability. It's, everybody is okay. For some of the aspects of transactional analysis is everybody is okay. And everybody has their own choices and everybody can change. So I love that. I think that's really accountable for a person. So that's why I love it so much.
And it sounds like it's quite aligned also with coaching, where we want as coaches for our clients to like hold the ownership of their journey and take responsibility for themselves and so on, right?
Yes. And also contracting is very important in transactional analysis. So that's something that can really relate to coaching, where we also have to have a good contract even before we begin coaching. And it's the same in transactional analysis. And then after we begin coaching, we also have those tiny session to session contracts that so in the transactional analysis is actually the same.
Nice. And like just one more step of this transactional analysis, I'm curious of like some example, perhaps, like when you work with your client and just like you use transactional analysis. I'm just curious, like from example, like how do you mix it?
Well, let's say I have a client and he's new at the position of a leader, just began his path. And when I started, this is an actual person, I'm not going to talk about names, but when he started, we started coaching, and I noticed from my transactional analysis point of view that he has tendency to be perfect, wants to do everything perfect. And that kind of stood in his way of being a good leader. Why? I mean, that perfection that he was trying to reach sometimes led to micromanagement. And of course, people didn't like it. So in those coaching sessions, I used these methods to explain to him why I think he's going in the direction of being perfect. And we actually did an analysis of it, and it confirmed my, that my thoughts that he has this driver of being perfect. And after he realized that, he was able to, work on it himself. He realized that that is what he's actually doing. And after the realization, it was easier for him to make some changes in his life. Not something that I did, in the sense that I said what he has to do, but he realized that he was going in that direction. and seeing consequences in his subordinates, what his perfection is doing to the relationship with them, then he realized he had to do something about that. So it was, the transactional analysis was just helpful to discover what his maybe issue is, and then working on, you know, action plan, what to do next, how to change that in the future.
Awesome. Yes. And before, you were sharing that you were working with kids in your previous career, kind of.
Yeah.
And can you share more about, like, maybe the difference working with kids versus like adults? Because TA actually like teaches us that as we are born, the stage is ready and we get shaped by the environment and our authorities and adults and so on. So actually everything starts in our childhood, right?
Yeah. When I worked with children, I actually didn't have that knowledge from transactional analysis. If I did, I would probably work with those children a little bit differently. But when working with them, you know, children are the result of their environment, of course, and sometimes of their, you know, genealogy. But if they have some kind of traumas or, you know, some issues, if they get a counselor who works with them, it's easier, you know, for them to, how do I say it, to get better.
Yes.
To
yes.
get over those issues easier than adults, because in our adult life, those issues kind of get deeper. It becomes a pattern, and we repeat the pattern, and it's like we have, you know, if you listen to some neuroscientists, they say when you have, you know, some kind of a pattern, it makes up a path in your brain. And the more you repeat the path, that pattern, it becomes more and more like a highway. And to change that pattern, you need more work. So if you see children, they're still developing that path, and it can be easier to change it than when you're adults. And the difference also, what I realized when working with children, is of course in the learning. Because, you know, if you remember being as a child in school, you probably didn't like some of the things that you had to do, you know, some things that you know, you had to learn. You didn't like the teachers, being the school system or something like that. And adults learn differently because they had that experience when they were children, and when they grow up, they don't want to learn in the same manner as they did when they were children.
Yes.
They want to have freedom when learning. They don't want to be treated the same. You know, me as an educator, sometimes when I do workshops, I make sure that I'm not being a teacher, you know, to give freedom to those people to decide for themselves how they want to learn. Because if you go into this environment and this situation as a teacher, it can trigger them of being a child and how they were treated and how they had to learn, and maybe they don't have nice memories of that, and that can trigger them, and, you know, maybe spunk a resistance. So that's why you have to be a little bit more careful when working with adults. They learn differently.
That's very interesting. I'm just curious, like, what are some of the homeworks that you give to your like clients? Like, I just want to like get some simple tips and tricks that maybe perhaps some parents or some leaders would actually learn to apply.
Yeah, my homeworks are very based on the issues my clients have. So when I talked about that previous client that was trying to be perfect all the time, his homework was going into situations sometimes not prepared, but willing to risk sometimes not knowing. It's like the competency of the ICF, going into the unknown. Sometimes you have to coach a client and be okay with that you don't know something. And it's the same with leaders. They think they have to know everything. They have to know more than their employees, their subordinates. And so one of the tasks is, have to be okay with the unknown, that sometimes you don't know. And you have to practice that. So sometimes I give them homework like, okay, go into a meeting, but don't prepare. I mean, prepare in a sense that you're not going to talk about something, ridiculous, but don't get into details. Don't, just sometimes try and be spontaneous.
Yes.
And nice. Other home, I mean, it's very, it's very individual based.
Of course, depends really what the challenge is and how you are approaching it in your sessions. What about I mean, it's, of course, it's not one tip for everyone, but like generally, maybe if there would be like kind of a simple 1, 2, 3 steps for like parents to understand how they can maybe use understanding of transactional analysis with their kids. Like perhaps maybe can you share more about like these ego stages, perhaps?
Well, that's a difficult question for me because there's so much, in upbringing children you could do that kind of involves a little bit of these transactional analysis methods and techniques. What I would say is maybe, let's say, something I learned from my mentor, Zoran Milivojevic. Okay.
Nice.
When you're upbringing children, you should, I mean, today's parents are very avoidant of disciplining their children. Why? Because they think that if you discipline the children, you're going to hurt them in a way. So these people will grow up being neurotic or having traumas or whatever. And a lot of, new age parents, they don't discipline their children because they think that hurts them. But it's okay to discipline the children. It's okay to discipline in a way that they have to do things that they don't like, because it's useful for them. It's okay, that you don't give them everything they need because they learn from that. But also disciplining them and showing them that you care for them and you love them. And that's kind of a magic equation of how a good upbringing would work.
Yes.
Nowadays, I mean, in the old days, I mean, even me, I was my parents, they punished me or they disciplined me, but they didn't show me love, It wasn't something that people did, they didn't say I love you or even say I care for you, whatever. It wasn't something normal, even in our society and here where I live. But that's changed, giving all the love, showing children that they love them, that everything they do is okay, can result in not these people being unprepared for the real life.
Yes.
So these people grow up and go into the corporate world where they have to work, where they have, their, people who tell them what to do, and they're not just ready for it. So I would say if your child is frustrated when you're a parent, then you're doing a good job. You're a good parent. Your
Nice.
child should feel frustration.
Nice. And if you're doing it with good intention, you should be confident about it and just listen more yourself, right, as a parent, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So cool. Like, yeah, I'm more into these actions now because we want to keep that short, but like, what would be like 1 or 2 messages now for this, for the people that are listening this? Like, what would be the 1 or 2 messages that we can share with the world now?
Another very interesting question. I think the world is changing. There's a lot of coaching, a lot of psychotherapy. I welcome that, because I think it's good that we are working on ourselves. And it's okay for you to find, the people to find what works for them, whether it's a life coach, whether it's leadership coach, whether it's psychotherapy, whether it's counseling, whatever works. I'm just glad that it's going in that direction. But be careful, maybe choosing who will be that person, helping you. I think there in Slovenia, there's been a lot of talk lately about, what is a good coach, because everybody calls themselves coach lately. And there have been, a lot of talks in the media and so forth. So I think it's important when you choose somebody, then you choose somebody that has education behind it. That also goes for psychotherapists and counselors.
Yes.
Also word of mouth, listen to what other people say about these people, and that it's okay to reach out for help. There are still people, even though we're realizing it's okay, there are a lot of people who don't want to get help or don't feel they could get help. And it's okay for you to get help. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. That just means that you're brave enough to do something about it,
to work on yourself.
And you're going to be a better person because of that. You're going to be a better parent, a better boss, a better friend, a better partner. Definitely, because even as a coach, even if like we're doing something on the leadership, thing, that kind of resonates to, other fields of life.
Yes.
Friendships, partnerships, whatever, because we learn something about ourselves. So when we learn something about ourselves, we can be better towards other people.
Nice. It sounds like a duty towards the world, right?
Yeah, in a way it does. Yeah.
Responsibility, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially if we're, in some positions like a parent, you have responsibility towards the world to upbring a child that will be, a good citizen, of the world. Yes. Or if you're a leader, the responsibility to be a good leader towards your subordinates. I like that. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Beautiful. And as we wrap up this conversation, I'm just curious, like, where can the listeners like find you?
Well, definitely on LinkedIn.
That is where I found you.
Yeah, that's it. I'm so glad that you did. Yes, I really benefit from your friendship. Otherwise, I have, it's in Slovene, but I have a website, WhatsApp, Facebook. I'm everywhere. TikTok, actually, also. Yes. If you like to look at my videos. They're not very good, but I'm trying.
All right. Maybe you need to coach yourself on it's not very good.
Yeah. No, I just started. Some of them are really cute, the videos. I want to work more on them. But I think it's a process. When I started, when you start something, you're not good at it. My first LinkedIn post wasn't really good. I actually went down and checked them out, and they really weren't good.
So cool
But
to actually look back, right?
yeah. But now they're getting better and better and better. And I think with TikToks, it's going to be the same.
Nice. Yes. Great stuff. Thank you so much. I hope we continue good work, and until next time, please take care.
Thank you, you too, Matej. Thank you for this lovely chat.
Bye-bye.
Bye.